On the 29th of July 2024, far-right protesters gathered outside Israel's military prison Sde Teiman, where captives from Gaza are held, and attempted to storm the base to free 7 Israeli soldiers who have been arrested for torture, sexual abuse and rape of Palestinian detainees. The protesters were egged on by members of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet, who told their supporters to go there and stop the arrests. Multiple reports and testimonies from Palestinian detainees, Israeli whistleblowers, human rights groups, and media outlets say sexual abuse against prisoners is widespread. In one report, a medic at Sde Teiman said he had treated a Palestinian man with signs of extreme torture, including rectal injuries. Sde Teiman was opened on the 1st of December 2023 to handle the overflow of Gazans being taken captive by the Israeli occupational army following its ground invasion of the besieged strip on the 27th of October 2023. None of the detainees at the facility were charged before being incarcerated there. While Israel claims they are Hamas fighters, none of this has been proven. The backlash against the questioning of the soldiers accused of sexual violence turned them into heroes among sections of the Israeli public. One of the accused soldiers, Meir Ben Shitrit, became a regular fixture on Israeli television. The case has triggered a debate about how Israel should treat its captives, but the use of sexual violence and rape is not new, and Israel has used it going all the way back to 1948. The use of sexual violence against Palestinians was systemic before the 7th of October 2023.
We have hundreds of cases of Palestinian prisoners that were subjected to sexual assault and violence at the hands of the occupation during their detention. There are many cases that have amounted to rape of the detainees. There are cases of rape against children as well. These violations have been happening before October 7th.
Sexual harassment is systemic in how Israel treats Palestinians. There are widespread reports of Palestinian female prisoners being strip-searched by male soldiers who verbally abuse and grope them and force them to squat while searching their private parts. Palestinian men and children report similar experiences. Rape threats have also been used against detainees.
So they believe that this is sort of the most impactful way of how to frighten or scare female detainees.
Violations against Palestinians are rarely punished by Israeli authorities. In 2021, Israeli authorities removed a gag order on a case of one soldier who served in Israel's civil administration, which oversees the occupied West Bank, who was convicted in 2016 on a host of charges that included rape and sexual harassment. The officer in question was responsible for issuing permits to Palestinians to work in Israel. Between 2013 to 2015, he was found to have raped one Palestinian woman on 2 separate occasions who came to him for a work permit. He forced himself onto her and raped her, forced her to clean up once he was done, gave her a permit and then rescinded the permit and forced her to do it again. He also had sex with another woman in exchange for permits and routinely harassed other women. He was even accused of sharing state secrets with 2 Palestinian women he tried to coerce. While this soldier was convicted, in most cases nothing happens. More recently, Haaretz reported that a Palestinian woman was sexually harassed by an Israeli soldier at a checkpoint in Hebron. While she was passing through a checkpoint alone, the soldier pulled down his trousers and exposed himself. Since the 7th of October 2023, women in Hebron have complained that sexual harassment at checkpoints has increased and includes taking pictures of them, commenting on their appearance and other inappropriate behaviours, of which Israeli authorities have done nothing to prevent. A 2019 UN Human Rights Council report found many cases of abuse against Palestinian women perpetrated in prisons, police stations and in the custody of the Israeli Security Agency, otherwise known as Shin Bet or Shabak. Between 2001 to 2019, 1,200 complaints were filed to an Israeli government department responsible for investigating abuse claims made against the Israeli Security Agency, but the report notes that only one complaint was ever investigated. In 2019, a woman from Hebron was detained by the security agency, and her interrogators used sexual violence against her to obtain a confession.
There's no sort of way to know why the occupation does what they do. There is no accountability, and no one is holding them accountable to their crimes, and there is no sort of system to punish them for their crimes that they're committing against Palestinians.
Other forms of sexual violence employed by Israel include the use of blackmail, of which there are a large number of reports, in particular that target the LGBT+ communities in Palestine. This is often to secure cooperation from an individual. Up until recently, claims that Israel uses sexual violence against Palestinians have been met with denial. Indeed, in 2007, a research paper that won the Hebrew University of Jerusalem's Teacher Prize Award made the surprising claim that cases of Israeli occupational forces raping Palestinian women in the occupied territories was very rare and low. The paper's author, Tel Nitzan, argued that the lack of rape was a political decision in order to reinforce ethnic boundaries between Israelis and Palestinians. Soldiers, it argued, saw Palestinians as too dehumanized to be considered for rape and feared that offspring produced from the sexual violence would contribute to a growing Palestinian demographic. In other words, Israeli forces were too racist to rape Palestinian women. Despite these claims, there is in fact a long history of sexual violence and rape going back to the Zionist militias prior to 1948 and by the Israeli army after the Nakba. In his 2016 book State of Terror, Thomas Suarez documents a number of cases of Zionist militias and Israeli forces engaging in rape and gang rape, including the story of a Palestinian woman being kidnapped from her village by Israeli border forces and gang raped over a few days. The 2022 documentary film Tantora, which recounts the story of the massacre of a Palestinian village in 1948 by Zionist militias affiliated with the Haganah, former militiamen laugh as they confess to raping young girls as they ethnically cleansed the village.
וגם הנשים היו לבושות ויפה, ובאמת היה כפר אחד, אנס שם איזה ילדה בת 16, משהו כזה.
While it is often said that Palestinians do not speak out when they are victims of sexual violence due to social stigma, over the decades many Palestinian women have spoken up about the abuses they've suffered.
أخذوني عند الشباب عشان يعترفوا وأنا عريانة وربطوني يعني ربطوا إيدي وربطوا إجري وأنا عريانة تماما. مش رح أوعيكي طبعا مش رح تشوعيكي يجوا شلحوني غصبا عني. عروني بشكل كامل وربطوا فتفت في صدري وشخص آخر مسك إجري وثبتهم بدأ يحاول يدخل عصاي في هالأمر.
Since the 7th of October 2023, the number of Palestinians being taken prisoner, especially from Gaza, increased. According to the Israeli Physicians for Human Rights report, before the 7th of October 2023, some 5,500 Palestinians were detained by Israel. As of January 2024, this number increased to 9,000. However, no official numbers are available on how many Palestinians from Gaza are being held by Tel Aviv. Reports of rape and sexual violence against Palestinians have increased since 7th of October 2023. In addition to this, since Israel's ground invasion of Gaza on the 27th of October 2023, a large number of TikTok, Telegram and social media videos have been shared showing Israeli soldiers wearing Palestinian women's underwear and parading it for the cameras. Rape is not only affecting Palestinians. Within Israel, sexual violence is a major issue. According to a Jerusalem Post article from 2021, the number of sexual violence incidents in Israel is above the average for an OECD country. In 2019, 92% of rape cases were closed without anyone being held accountable. After the 7th of October 2023, some 200,000 Israelis were displaced from their homes near Gaza and Lebanon, and many went to live in shelters. Up until February 2024, 116 rapes, sexual assaults and harassment cases were filed from these shelters. Some commentators in the Israeli media say that Israel's militaristic culture might be partially responsible for the high levels of sexual violence. The army is also not a safe place for Israeli women. Between 2016 to 2023, there was an 82% increase in reported sexual offences against female soldiers. Israel's rape culture was not born on the 7th of October 2023. It was decades in the making, and violations against Palestinians are systemic and can be traced back to the foundations of the State of Israel.
They know what it means for both Palestinian men and women when it comes to anything regarding their body or their physical well-being, when it comes to the dignity and it comes to the nature of how Arab society and Palestinian society is as well. There's a very high honor and respect for one's body.